What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing fantastic as always. We're back with another low-tech, actually not low-tech, no-tech update. So we're starting right off the bat here with our Rotala rotundifolia tank with our red tiger guppies that we're working on. And so we haven't done anything to these tanks except for fill evaporation with more water for the past 2 months. I think it's been 2 months. I'll have to double check on that. I'll have it in the description, the exact amount of time it's been. All we've done is replace the water from evaporation, feed the fish, and that is it. Nothing else has been done. So no water changes, no fertilizers, nothing like that. Of course, the light is only on for the videos, as we need proper lighting to actually let you see what's going on here. Normally it's just window light. So this is pretty much as easy as you can get as far as the no-tech setup. The Rotala has grown very well. We're going to go ahead and cut it down to a carpeting height. And you can see here we have fry from our red tigers. So obviously they're not too upset in here if they're breeding. So we kind of just did a quick trim. I'm going to speed up a lot of the actual pruning process just because there's a lot to get through in this video. And this is kind of what we're going to end up with. We kind of carpeted the Rotala. Never done that before. This is the first attempt at carpeting Rotala, and looks pretty good to me. I like it. So we're gonna keep that. You can see a pumpkin orange shrimp in the bottom left there, helping keep the tank clean. Now, some of these tanks do have some shrimp in them, some of them have nothing, and I believe only one of them has Corydoras. So that is optional. These are pretty small tanks. We don't really need a huge cleaner crew for them. Here is a side view of the same tank. And you can see here we have almost no algae growth in this tank. No hair algae, no blue-green algae, and none of the algae, I forget the name, that grows on the side of the tank, which is what most people deal with. So overall, almost no maintenance in a few months of having this tank set up. Next to the Rotala tank is our hornwort and Alternanthera reneki tank. As you can see, the hornwort has become a little bit overgrown at this point, and I do apologize. This way this tank is positioned, it's hard to get to it and film it at the same time, so we're just gonna go ahead and fast forward through the pruning really fast so we can get through my fat head being in the camera. But essentially what we're doing here is cutting all the hornwort way down and pulling it out, because I actually don't think I want to do hornwort in this tank anymore. We're going to do something else. So to prep for that, we're going to go ahead and cut the hornwort way down and back. Get a good look at the Alternanthera here. That's doing pretty well considering it has no CO2, and I wouldn't say it exactly has high lighting, and no fertilizers at all. This is normally a pretty, I wouldn't say it's a hard to care for plant, but it's not the easiest. So it doing well in no-tech is amazing. Happy to see that. And you can see the hornwort is purling, mostly just from being pruned. That will induce purling as oxygen is escaping through the newly formed cuts, but it will purl as well, just normally. You can see the Alternanthera is actually purling a bit in the back. So all these plants do like the no-tech setup. Now, I did actually pull all the fish out of here. We needed them in the ponds, and we're going to be putting more red tiger in that one later. Now, next tank over is our pearlweed carpet tank. Now, as you can see, this is the only tank we've seen so far that has gained any algae. Now, it is the closest to the window, so it's getting the most sunlight. And pearlweed is not the highest demanding plant compared to hornwort and some of the others, so it just absorbs a little bit less, so that could contribute as well. So the first thing we're going to need to do with this tank is get all that algae off. Now, you can use whatever you like to use, a scrub brush or something like that. I just have gotten used to using straight razor blades, so that's what we are going to use. And get all that algae off, and then we'll cut some of that pearl weed down and get it back to a carpet, which is what it was at the end of last video. So we can see kind of that I just take a straight razor, angle it at about a 30-degree angle, and just kind of scrape all that algae off. It gets it off really easy. You do need to be careful, as you can easily hurt yourself or fish with a very sharp straight razor, so maybe better to use something else. This is just my tool of choice. And just kind of push the pearl weed out of the way if you need to. It'll go back if you're not going to hurt it at all, and get down in there. So now that we have the tank nice and clean on the visible sides, we can start cutting the pearl weed back, which we'll do in just a second. This tank is full of our Vienna variant. It's a silver blue Vienna. I have not named it yet, but they are doing pretty well. Good fish. Well, I'll get a separate video on that another time. So I think we're going to kind of leave this tank like this just for the moment, just to kind of show that we can cut the pearl weed down to a low carpet, and it can also become, you know, a 6-8 inch strand. It can grow quite tall over time. So you do need to prune it and shape it and work with it, or you can just let it grow bushy. That's fine too. The fish don't really care either way. It's loose enough that they can swim down into it and through it, even when it's really bushy. So it just kind of provides more cover for them. Of course, the more plants you have in your tank, the less water volume you'll have. Just keep that in mind, as you don't want to cram, you know, a ton, like no room for water basically with so many plants and put a ton of fish in. You know, if you do like a couple fish, maybe that wouldn't be a big deal, but essentially you're taking away moving room for your fish. So always keep the volume in mind. But otherwise, they are doing fantastic. Tank looks much better now it's been cleaned up. And our bottom rack actually required almost no maintenance. So this is our Taiwan lily. It's like a 3-gallon tank. The Taiwan lilies are exploding. They're doing great. I've been taking some out of there as needed to send to people, or you know, whatever, and they just keep growing back. It's doing great. And then next to it we have our Higer tank, which has also been doing pretty well. It's full of bacopa and guppy grass, and the fish in this lily tank is actually a red grass guppy that I'm working on. So again, you'll see the theme with these no-tech tanks. I'm just kind of experimenting with some new with some new strains of fish while we are showing these plants done in no-tech, and showing that the fish don't mind it and like it as well, and will actually breed in it. So yeah, this is a perfect tank setup for any of our plants or fish, shrimp, if you're into something that's extremely low maintenance. Now the growth and the capacity for what can be in it is just slightly lower because you are doing no tech instead of medium or high tech. That is the only real difference. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it encouraged you to maybe try some of these plants if you're afraid of messing them up. There's really, I mean, you can just throw them in a tank with some water and they'll be good. Anyways, see you guys in the next video.